Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Hi, Niall. I'll keep this short and sweet. I have the story of my life. My husband and I are renting for the last 4 years and are being honest on our income. We won't be getting a house anytime soon. We're both in unskilled jobs and don't get paid too well. We rent a small 2-bed house in Tala. Bad news is the landlord is selling up. We've been on to the council to see if the council will buy the house so we can rent it from them, but we don't qualify. We've been looking on Daft for months and there is very little out there. And the 3 we found since Christmas won't accept the dog. Our dog is 6 years old and he's like a child. His name is Charlie. Or like our child. My husband thinks he would have a chance of somewhere to live without Charlie, and I'm saying I'll sleep in a tent rather than get rid of Charlie. I've tried a few friends to see if they could take him for a few months until we get somewhere, because it looks like we might have to move into my husband's mother's place until we get somewhere that will take us with Charlie. But his mother will have nothing to do with Charlie, and she has 3 cats. My husband thinks the only option is to rehome him, and I think that would be easy, and thinks that would be easy because he's a spaniel and so cute. But it will break my heart, and myself and my husband are arguing over this all the time. And I asked him, would you give up a child? And he's insisting it's a dog and we can get another one in the future. I think landlords should have to take dogs. And yes, I don't mind paying the extra deposit for any damage that Charlie might do, but he's fully house trained and he's never done any damage. Please help us out. There's only 22 days left. Sarah. Now, I don't know what you do in that. Well, there's 2 questions here. What would you do in that situation? I mean, is the husband being selfish or is he being logical and saying, look, we need somewhere to live. Charlie's got to go. Unfortunately, that's the end of Charlie. We'll have to, we can get another dog. Don't be worrying. That's what he's saying to her. It's, either we have nowhere to live or we get rid of Charlie. One or the other. And then the real question she's asking is, should it be illegal? Now, this question was raised, I think, in the Dáil going back about 2 or 3 years ago in relation to rental properties. That landlords shouldn't be able to refuse you, unless, of course, the property is incapable of taking a dog. They shouldn't be able to refuse you to have a dog, provided, you're willing to pay the deposit, which is fair enough, an extra bit of a deposit if you've got a dog in case they do any damage to the bottom of the doors or curtains or whatever they might be scratching at or pooing on the floor. But anyway, so there's 2 questions. So I'll ask you the main one. Should landlords be obliged to take people with pets? You know what I mean? And realistically, is the husband being selfish, wanting to get rid of the dog so they can get somewhere to live? Or is he just being logical? Already a text comes in, Niall, she's clearly too emotionally attached to the dog and not her husband. Okay, the number's 087 188 0008. That's 087 188 0008. Let me go to Emma. Emma, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Emma?
Hey, what's the crack?
What's the crack, Emma?
Okay, number 1, I want to say you are the best host ever. I want you to be the fucking Late Late Show person. Anyhow.
Thank you, Emma.
Well, I'm just being honest.
Well, okay,
and
fair
I'm going to continue being honest. I think that, if you can't kind of look after a dog, can you not look after yourself? I just feel like, oh, sure, what? He's gonna pee everywhere. Would you?
Why have you not got a dog? Have you got a dog, Emma?
No.
No. You'd never have one, would you? You wouldn't be interested?
No.
Most dogs don't pee everywhere. Do you know what I mean? They're like children. When you get a child first, they tend to pee everywhere. But then you train them.
Yes, I have children.
Yeah, but the dogs are the same. You train them to pee in a certain place. They don't pee everywhere, unless it's a bad dog.
But, all right, okay, fair.
Yeah, okay. So, which is more important, having somewhere to live or keeping your dog? Should you just get rid of the dog?
Oh, Jesus. That is a really sore kind of.
Yeah. It's a very bad line for some reason, Emma. Let me go to Margaret as well. Sorry, I'll have to try and get a better line here, Emma. Margaret, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Margaret?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
I'm good, Margaret.
How are you keeping?
Good. Sorry we lost Emma there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very hard one now.
Right.
But I love animals. Now, I love dogs. I've had dogs all my life. And I would hate to be in that woman's position, you know. And it's heartache. You know, it's her dog. It's 6 years old. You know, I mean, I mind all my friends' dogs when they go on holidays or if they're going to a wedding or they get extra time, you know, overtime at work and things like that. Because they don't want their animals going into kennels. They want, you know, the dog looked after properly.
Of course,
you know.
yeah.
So, I mean, I look after all my friends' dogs and my family's dogs as well. And I do it for anybody. You know, if somebody said to me, look, I'm going on holidays for a week or two or a month, I'd say, sure, no problem. When are you going? What days are you going? And when are you coming back? And I'd say, bring the dog the day before so you can organise your case and make sure you have everything in the case. You can tidy up the house and make sure everything's spick and span before you go on your holidays so you're coming home, you know, to a tidy home.
Yeah, but I think
You know what I mean?
but I think she's tried all of that, you know.
But it's surely to God, I don't know where the husband now is getting the accommodation. This is the problem, okay?
Yeah.
So living in Tala, you were saying there.
Yeah, they're living in Tala at the moment, yeah.
And the landlord is selling out,
Yeah.
right? Selling the property. And are they going to be still living in Tala is the thing, or where is the new accommodation? You don't know that, you see. And it's an awful pity they don't live out this way, because I would take the animal for them when they're in work.
Oh, that's very good of you.
And I would, and I know I would.
Yeah, but
Because
but that's not much use just when they're in work. They need someone to take the animal until they get somewhere to live, which could take a while.
Yeah. But, do you know what I mean? If they could get somewhere to live without that stipulation. Now,
But that's the point she's making. They can't find anywhere. I mean, it's tough enough at the moment to find somewhere to live in a rental property because there's very few of them around, if you can manage to get one. And then get one that'll take a dog is even more difficult.
But what I'm saying is, I thought there before Christmas, something like that came up before, and it was brought up in the Dáil.
It was, yeah.
And the government said that landlords cannot, if a person is in a property and they're renting and they have an animal, they cannot turf them out on the road.
Oh, no, but
the animal.
Yeah, but they're not turfing them out because of the animal. The landlord's selling up. But they don't have to rent a property out to somebody who has a dog. They just don't have to do that.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, it's an awful pity. It's obviously an apartment they're going into.
Well, not necessarily. Landlords have houses too. They just don't want dogs in them. Most landlords won't accept a dog.
Oh, and I know people now, and that they're living in renting a property.
Yeah, I know.
And houses.
Some are, yeah.
And like that, and the landlord said, no animals, you know.
Yeah, because they can damage the property. That's the way the landlord looks at it. You know what I mean? They might scratch the doors or whatever it happens to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a hard one, Niall. It really is.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to the woman.
I'm looking at some of the comments coming in on Facebook as well. Fiona McGonagall says, it's normally humans that wreck houses, not dogs. Oh, yeah. And Anne Stanley, according to Facebook, is a top fan, says, yes, I would let it to a family with dogs over a family with children. So in other words, children would do more damage. She's probably right, actually. Let me go to a man who protects animals on a regular basis and talks to us on the air about animals and has his own political party for animals. Gerben, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to compliment you that I have a night show, because I'm a bit like a night owl myself.
Oh,
ever since that I also got unemployed lately, and I actually got over the job in Dublin, but I can't move to Dublin. I have the same issue. I could rent out my cottage and then give a home to Ukrainian refugees or with pets, and also other people like the person who was just only here. Mm-hmm. And then, but I can't rent anything in Dublin. Because they don't accept my two cats. So that's the dilemma. So I think the legislation, first of all, should be adjusted, that all landlords should not be able to refuse tenants with pets. Of course, tenants are liable for any damages which would occur while in.
So you would accept, say, a higher deposit if you have an animal.
Well, only if there is for like a precondition, let's say, because as the lady just said, well, it's basically not the animals who are causing, or instead of pets, I actually would like to use the word compassion animals, because they're no toys. So compassion animals would be a better word than word pets, but that besides it. But no, so there is, of course, certain, dangerous, well, so-called dangerous breeds, with like pit bulls, etc. Although most people would own those dogs, and they look very well after those dogs. Unfortunately, there's also a number of people who are educating those dogs in a very bad way, and then they might end up in accommodation. So these are the exceptions, maybe.
What do you think of what the husband has said, Gerben? He said, get rid of the dog so we can get another one. It's only a dog.
Absolutely ridiculous. So, absolutely ridiculous. And landlords, I wonder how many of those landlords have a dog or a cat themselves.
See, I understand the point you're making, and what your argument is that we should legislate that landlords cannot refuse people on the grounds that they have an animal.
Absolutely.
Okay, but
Absolutely.
hold on. But we live in a world where it's a free market. If it's my house and I'm renting it, I should be allowed to rent it to who I want to rent it to. That's just the way it works, Gerben. You can't demand that. We're putting so many demands on landlords. You can't turn around now and say, oh, you must rent it out to somebody with a dog. So where does that stop? I have 4 cats. Can I rent you? No. I'm not renting my house out to somebody with 4 or 5 cats. You know what I mean? Or I have a crocodile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, where do you stop with that?
Yeah, so we're not talking about exotic pets just yet, but about compassion animals in this case.
Yeah, pigeons.
But,
I have a pigeon loft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I completely understand your fair point there. So, but I just wanted to raise another thing. A lot of landlords raise their rents so that animals can be allowed in, and I think that should be. I find that disgusting.
Yeah, I know somebody who was renting.
Circumventing.
I do know somebody who was renting in the city centre, a 1-bed apartment with her partner, and they had a dog, and they were charged an extra $200 a month for having a dog.
Yeah, that's completely
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
And well, the private tenancy board is also against that.
Yeah.
So and they also have advice to both landlords and tenants on that if that happens, and they can also set up like sample letting agreements. And unfortunately, there's still landlords out there who don't where you don't have any letting agreements as such, and you can be kicked out all the times. And of course, there's the recent thing about the lifting of the eviction ban, where people, where landlords probably would be even more careful to enforcefully let out premises with pets, or if you call it compassion animals, which is
okay.
But that's a totally different.
Okay, we'll stay there for a second, Gerben. And for those who don't know, Gerben he's actually Ireland's only political party for animals. Let me go to Jimmy. Jimmy, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Jimmy? How you doing, Jimmy? It's been a while.
Yeah.
Still love me? Oh, he's gone again. Jimmy!
Yes.
Yeah, I said it's been a while.
Been a while now, yeah.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, Jimmy, do you believe that the landlord should be compelled to rent to people if they have a dog?
Well, a house is no place for a dog. In a house, a domestic, there's no place for a dog.
A house?
Dogs can't take, number one, the television. They can't take the sound of radios and televisions. They're hearing is far higher pitches than we can hear. Dogs can't. So it's very loud for the dog.
When did you become an expert at animals?
I know, sure. I know about dogs. I've had dogs in my life. That's common sense. And then there's all types of things going on in houses with children, dogs going out and bringing diseases back to the house, out walking on footpaths and parks and bringing all that back into your house. That's not healthy. It's not good for the dog. You wouldn't keep a pony in your flat or a goat or these sheep or these kind of things. Why would you keep a big dog in your flat?
Some people do. Keep ponies in the house.
Some people, yeah. But the landlords probably had a bad experience of dogs, and when people vacate the flat, then I'm sure it takes a lot to clean up after a dog, because you couldn't have a dog in the house, but there'd be accidents.
What sort of accidents?
The smell of dogs, and dirty by nature.
I know some humans who are dirtier than dogs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And if people love their dogs, they keep them clean. You know what I mean?
They buy these dogs, and they're little pups when they get them, and they're working, and people smoking hash and all in houses, and the dogs inhaling all that too, and that affects those.
Oh, jeez. Now, Jimmy, you're going down a different route here altogether. Whatever about smoking the hash in front of the dog.
Statistics in the UK. I saw the statistics in the UK for those banned dogs. The people who smoke drugs are more likely to have a pit bull dog in London than anybody else.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's probably the same here in Ireland. The dog is in the flat. He's there for one sole reason, paranoid, and they think that dogs are going to protect him if anybody comes to the doors. And that's the wrong reason.
Yeah, well, hang on, Jimmy. That is the wrong reason to have a dog. You know, to have it in your flat in case someone comes to the door and you're smoking weed. But let's focus on what we're actually talking about. So this email from the girl, she has a dog. 6 years. Charlie is a spaniel, and they're getting booted out of their house because the landlord is telling the house they can't find anywhere to rent because nowhere will take somewhere with a dog. Do you believe landlords should be obliged to take them in even though they have a dog? He's a clean dog.
Well, the choice is theirs. There's people living outside of the CCJ there. One of them, I was talking to a girl living on her own in a tent, and she can't get it. She's living in that tent, and there's people living in tents in Ireland who will not give up their pets, and they would rather be in the tent, happily in the tent with their dog, than to live in a house.
But see, that's the way people. That's the way people feel about their dogs. They love their dogs like they're a member of the family.
So you think you're gonna? Somebody has an advert in the paper. Like there's people who you see adverts for housing and respectable or professional couples only, or this kind of stuff. Isn't like, so what? You think that you can go and dictate to somebody, you better change the law and let me in here with this dog? No, that's not going to work that way. You're better off to buy a tent.
Yeah, the husband. Okay, well, okay. So would you agree with the husband? He said, "Get rid of the dog until we find what."
Get rid of them. if
just like that, just rehome him. Shall we get another one? It's only a bloody dog. Is that your attitude, Jimmy? Yeah.
Yeah, something's going on there between the two of them. Something else. I don't know.
What's going on
something
between
them? Not right. Well, if you really.
He's been logical, I suppose. You could say he's been selfish too, but he is being logical. They need somewhere to live.
You do, but like you can't blame people. It's like the neighbours might not like dogs, or there could be some other previous experience in the house the landlord had. You can't blame people for not wanting a dog.
Okay, well, hang on. Let me ask Gerben. Gerben, that's a fair point. The landlords generally might have had bad experiences, and you can't blame them for saying we don't want a dog. Now, don't get me wrong; they could have bad experiences with people with children too, but you can't ban children, unfortunately, it's because they're human beings. And dogs don't have the same rights, contrary to what you might want, Gerben. They don't have the same rights as human beings. So is it not fair that Jimmy is saying the landlord might have had bad experience and he just doesn't want the hassle of somebody having a dog?
Yeah, but the experience could be maybe a long time ago, and experience and it could be related to something from a family members as such, I think. So and coming back to the previous issue, so why not get rid of the husband instead of getting rid of the dog?
Get rid of the husband?
Yeah, why not? So you know, and so if the husband won't even accept a dog or a cat,
no,
or maybe just and if you let's say, those people, as I said before, might have never had a rescue in their home, might never had a compassion animal or pets before. As I said, it's all about experiences. Ask them about other people who own pets, who have rescues, and most of them are very happy. And, like, as you know, cats, for example, they clean after themselves. Everybody knows that.
By the way, Jimmy.
Dogs,
All right, cool.
Yeah, well, hang on, Gerben. Jimmy. Jesus,
Yeah?
you're not very responsive tonight. Jimmy, do you believe that dogs have rights?
Oh, let us and save us. Dogs now, dogs have rights, yeah?
Yeah. Do you believe they have
And
rights?
The dog might identify as a cat or a donkey or something. It might not be a dog. Where are you going? It's a straightforward enough topic, straightforward enough.
I'm only asked that dog can identify as a cat. I'm only asking you, do you believe that dogs have rights?
You know as well as I know, and people listening to your show, that that's the society that we live in now.
No, but I'm only asking you because Gerben...
It's a non-dog. He doesn't want to be described as a dog. It's a non...
It's a non-dog.
See, that's all 2 years' time. This will be the nonsense that will be going
Okay,
on.
but the point the reason I'm asking is because Gerben has a political party, and it's Ireland's only political party
Now, Gervin,
for animals.
Could never see you now, Gervin, to be quite honest with you, getting any more than 10 or 15 votes. And I don't mean to insult you in any way, but there's far more issues facing people today about homelessness than the dogs.
Well, he does quite well. He's on social media, and I see his social media popping up regularly, and he has a lot of followers, a lot of people.
12,000 followers.
12,000 and more, yeah.
Only last week we had 10 new members.
Yep.
So definitely we are going to take part in the local and European elections next year, and we are going to take part in the elections. Now, we also work with other political parties who want to change something towards animal welfare. Any party, so we put animals before ourselves, basically.
Yeah, but your ultimate goal is that animals, and particularly dogs, should have the same rights as human beings.
Absolutely, and it should be enshrined in the Irish Constitution.
It should be enshrined in the Constitution, Jimmy. There you go.
Yeah, for which we should have of course, a referendum, so anybody can then decide.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
Of course, Jimmy.
And there's other people who say trees, and just Dervin is just one of a kind of people who want trees now have rights, and fish have feelings, and all this type of thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe fish do have feelings. Maybe fish do have feelings.
These things start off as a joke, but then after a while, then people start taking them seriously. So you walking a dog on a lead, you could be done for cruelty, took the dog's rights, and all that way out of it now.
Yeah, way out. Okay, well, hang on. I'm just looking through the comments coming in on Facebook as well. Don Burke says, rehome the husband. Concepta Collery says, keep the dog, but give it to a friend to mind until you find a place that will take it, and mind your husband. Ooh. But she already did try to do that as well. Isla Sidney Kiernan says, well, if you are renting while you are paying your rent, the house is yours. Obviously, if there's damage to the property, it'll be taken out of the deposit, but the landlord should do a thorough clean-up after all tenants. And some of your Twitter comments, Bobs Jones says on Twitter, for a so-called pet-friendly country, Ireland sure has a problem with landlords not wanting tenants to keep pets. Stay there for a second, Jimmy, if you can. And Gerben, let me go to Wade, I think it is. Wade, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Wade?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, Wade. I had a funny feeling with the name Wade, by the way. You weren't of Irish origin. Where are you from, Wade?
Where am I from? I'm Nigerian.
Sorry?
I'm Nigerian. I'm from Nigeria.
Okay, it's an interesting name, Wade, isn't it? I've never heard the name used before, but there you go. So, Wade, do you think they should get rid of the dog or the husband?
Okay. So this is a bit of a twist at this point. The husband is a new addition for me. Well, I guess first off, why are we getting rid of the husband or thinking of getting rid of the husband?
Because people are saying he's selfish because he turned around to the wife and he said, Asher, it's only a dog. You can get another one.
Oh, well, first of all, I think you can keep both. Well, you can get rid of the husband if you don't want to have the husband, but I think you can keep both. Is the option to keep the dog in the sense that you basically bring the dog in without anyone knowing, and upon inspection of the place, you hide the dog. Isn't that possible? Or
do it illegally, but if you get caught, you could get booted out.
Hey, well, I mean, look, if sometimes you got to take risks. It's a dog, and I believe it deserves a certain level of right as,
compassion.
Human being.
Yes, of course.
Dog.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think just because it's an animal, you should just easily discard it, especially if it's something that it's dear to you,
Yeah.
Obviously, because if you exhausted your options trying to find someone who can help watch your dog until you find a place that works. If you don't have that and, there's nothing else, then I think the legal option, obviously, specifically in this regard, I think that's completely fine. Obviously, you have to weigh out the risks, but I think that's something.
And what about what Gerben says? Gerben says that we should change the law that landlords, by law, should not be allowed to discriminate against people who have dogs.
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I don't see why there's any reason why people should be discriminated against just because they have pets. I get the idea of. I understand the idea of wanting to maintain your property, and in the case where people don't.
Well, it's a free market, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, if it's your house and you're renting it out, Wade, for example, you should be allowed to decide who rents it. You know what I mean? It's free market.
I believe I should, but I believe there should be a level, an equal level of consideration to someone.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You shouldn't be allowed to discriminate against, color, creed, sex, gender, whatever it is. But certainly you should be able to discriminate, if you want to call it discrimination, against somebody who has a pet. Because where do you draw the line? If you say that landlords are obliged to take people in who have dogs, well, what happens if I have 4 cats? What happens if I have 2 pet lizards? You know what I mean? Should the landlord be obliged to take all of them as well?
I mean, that's the whole point of the security deposit, isn't it? If there's any damage to your property, it comes out of the present security deposit. That's something that the tenant is willing to comply to. So you have their conditions in place to ensure that the property is kept in check, is kept safe.
Well, sorry, Jimmy, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard Wade. It should be part of legislation. That's the point of having a security deposit. And realistically, you could turn around and say, listen, the deposit is $2,000. You're bringing a dog in. It's an extra 500 quid on the deposit. You will get it back provided the dog doesn't damage the house. I think that would be fair. But they should be obliged to accept people because otherwise it's just discrimination.
I think you'd be better off to look for a landlord who will accept your dog.
But you can't find one. That's the problem.
Well, then you have to just think of another way. Maybe leave the country. Find a country where you can... Because housing at the moment is very, very difficult. The landlords hold the whip and that's it. They have the say. If 10 or 15 years ago, they couldn't care if you brought in dogs or not dogs or whatever you wanted into the house because it was difficult to rent houses. But at the moment, it's up to them what they do with their property.
Jimmy, do you believe... Well, hang on, Jimmy. Just let me see where you stand on this. Do you believe a dog is part of the family?
Part of the family?
Yeah, like one of your children.
In what way?
Like one of your children.
Well, it would never be one of your children.
No, well, of course it wouldn't, unless it identifies the child.
A dog is a pet. A dog is an animal. It's animal instincts. It should be outside in the open.
But is it part of the family?
It's not fair having a dog chewing the couch or barking on... it's not fair on a dog having him indoors. It's cruelty to a dog.
No, it's not cruelty to the dog having it indoors. Some dogs prefer it indoors. They don't like to be outside in the cold in the winter. How would you feel if I put you outside in the cold in the winter?
And then if it's a bitch and all, and they come into season, it's very smelly and mucky around the house.
Jesus.
It's not. And then the big dog, well, he's a lovely dog. He's a big Afghan bull terrier or something, or American half-bred with something else. They don't know about dogs. They really don't.
Wait, have you got a dog?
No, I don't have a dog, but I have had a dog when I was younger.
Okay, and did your dog stay in the house?
The dog did actually. The dog we had a shelter for it outside, so it stayed outside. And we brought it in the house occasionally.
Do you think dogs are better off indoors or outdoors?
I mean, I think dogs are better off indoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
The woman, she should try. She should try like Roscommon or Galway or Offaly or somewhere where people might be more acceptable for dogs. But I would imagine in Dublin or Limerick or some of the bigger cities, it wouldn't be.
I'm looking at some of the comments. Well, hang on. I have to go to a break anyway, and I'm going to come to Maria after the break. But I'm looking at some of the comments coming in on Twitter, by the way. Truth Seeker says, with a name like Truth Seeker, I'd only expect this. Tell the landlord the dog identifies as a Hoover. It's getting better, isn't it? Jason Lynch says, don't mock it, by the way. I've heard worse. Jason Lynch says, pets are part of the family. Anon says, landlords need to accept that pets are a part of the family unit, whether you're single or a couple.
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
All right, keep texting, keep WhatsApping. The number's 087 188 0008. Stay there, Jimmy, because you're a hell. Let me go to Maria. Maria, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Maria?
Hi, Niall. How are you? Long time no hear.
It's nice to speak to you again, Maria. Nice to talk to you. How are you keeping?
I'm good. Not too bad.
Good.
Tom was asking for you as well.
Thank you very much indeed. All right. Now, Maria, getting back to the doggies. Do you believe that landlords... is it discrimination to stop somebody renting because they have a dog?
I think if the owner is responsible and the dog is, well, obviously the dog is going to be well trained anyway and potty trained, you could say, to go outside, then absolutely no problem. I think it's more human beings that wreck properties, not the animals. And I mean, if you were seeing Tom a while ago, he's a huge dog. Jimmy would love him.
What sort of dog is it?
Well, he's a cross between a German Shepherd and an Alaskan Malamute. So
Jesus. Huge. Right, okay. Jimmy'd love that, yeah.
He loves sprawling himself on the sofa.
Having relationships with these dogs.
He's not having a relationship with a dog.
They're part of the family. Like once we get an animal, they're part of the family, and my heart will break for that woman. I mean, even one of our neighbours before, he had to move. He was looking for a new house, and we took his dog in for about 6 months until he got settled. And I wouldn't see anybody doing like that, because I would prefer to sleep in a tent or a caravan before giving up Tom.
There you go. She'd sleep in a tent or a caravan before giving up her dog, Jimmy. Tom.
Yeah.
I see them kissing the dogs and kissing the dogs, and the dog is sleeping in the bed with them, and go out with that. That's not right. You may laugh off that, but that's something not right there. No man in the house, a big dog in the bed.
So
a lovely. You wouldn't need a sleeping bag with him. He'd keep you nice and cozy.
Yeah, he keeps you nice and cozy and warm. You cuddle into him.
Oh, you can laugh it off, all right.
That's the way people feel about their dogs, Jimmy. You're in fierce bad humour tonight. What's wrong with you?
I'm not in bad humour, but the nonsense about you go for a house and the landlord, like if you go for some jobs now, you won't get them a tattoo. So what, you're going to change the legislation that if somebody doesn't want to give you a job or a house, or they don't want to give you something, and there's a reason, and they have the right to refuse you entry to a lot of places. The landlords of these pubs and hotels and nightclubs, and they have, and that's there for a reason. There are certain individuals who cannot behave themselves and are not capable of having a dog. They've gone to work all day. The dog is in the flat. I've even seen videos of the dog eating their way out to the
door.
Doors.
Yeah, I see that. I saw that video actually. Yeah, that was incredible. That video.
But not just one video. There's loads of those videos. The dogs do that. Dog is left alone all day.
Yeah, but the argument is, but hang on. You're paying a deposit, and I did agree that if you are renting with a dog, that I believe the landlord should have the right to increase the initial deposit that you get back if you leave. And if your dog does any damage, then they keep the deposit. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Well, who's responsible at the end of the day if that dog goes out? He's no license. That wouldn't be unusual. He has no license. He's not microchipped. He's not registered in any way. I just say that if you want to get a house, that woman there said she'd rather live in a caravan with her dog and live in a tent with her dog and have him in the sleeping bag with her. There's something wrong with that type of person that thinks like that, like putting a dog into a sleeping bag. For me, number one,
Okay,
And
something
she
wrong with
sounds
Maria,
very
so.
sincere and
Okay.
genuine.
No, there
She has an
isn't.
unnatural
Okay, well, hang
attachment
on,
to
let
an
her,
animal.
let her respond to that. You just said there was something wrong with her. Something wrong with you, Maria.
Probably said it was
You're
the dog
lacking.
Valentine's Day cards and Christmas cards,
No,
stuff like that. It's unnatural.
Would you, Maria, do
It's
you...
an unnatural,
Well, hang
an
on,
unnatural
hang
attachment
on.
to an animal.
Hang on, Maria, would you buy cards for your dog?
What?
Would you buy cards?
what?
Do you buy like birthday cards and Christmas cards for the dog?
I don't buy cars, but we get him a cake.
For his birthday?
Oh yeah.
Putting jackets on dogs, you know, and
Present.
that's all
No,
stupidity.
he doesn't need a jacket. But no, the type of owner that you're describing, Jimmy, is not responsible because you should not leave a dog for hours on end, unattended and whatever like that. That's wrong. There's mostly
Feeding
someone
dog
with,
food and running through the dog.
but
Not even proper food. I was stuff in a tin and giving big bowls of that to the dog and going off to walk. So the dog would have the wall pebble dashed when it come home. How are you going to put that off of a wall?
oh, you've no idea. Oh,
You'd
God.
have the wall pebble dashed.
That's the reality of it now.
Sorry,
That's the
just-
reality of
that
it.
might not be the reality. Stay there for a second. Just let Maria, please stay with me. Well, hang on. Let me go to Tommy. Tommy, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Tommy?
How are you, Niall?
How you doing? Tommy, he'll have the wall pebble dashed by the time
Pebble
you
dashed,
go
yeah.
home. Yeah.
Better not give him any more peas.
So, Tommy, should landlords be obliged to take a person if they have a dog?
No, and I also I think it's extremely it's a bad idea to get a dog if you're not in a permanent situation. So why do these people get a dog knowing that they're in rented accommodation?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the percentage of the population are in rented accommodation, and you can't deny them the possibility of having a little friend.
No, but it's also it's a sense of responsibility.
Well,
If
it's
you
yeah,
go
but it's
and get
getting
a
bigger.
dog-
The percentage of the population renting is getting bigger.
Yeah. So say you're renting a flat on the 14th story of a building and you go and get a dog. How's the dog ever going to get any exercise?
Yeah.
You know, if you're working, and these people saying that they're working in jobs that are not that well paid, why did they go and get a dog? I mean, what's the
Because
point?
they want one. Because they want one.
Yeah, if they want one. Yeah, but see, this is what's wrong with people now. I see, I want. You know what I mean? It's just there's a lack of responsibility here by the people who got the dog in the first place, knowing they're not living in permanent accommodation.
Yeah, but hold on. They were renting out for the last few years in a 2-bed house in Tala, the ones in the email, right? In a 2-bed house in Tala. They obviously had a garden in the back garden. I mean, they could people rent for 20 and 30 years. That's perfectly fine. They're entitled to get a dog if they want to get a dog.
That day is gone forever. No, I've come across this just after COVID where certain individuals came to me. Now, I have a good property with a bit on it, and I've had dogs in the past. I don't have them at the moment because I don't have time to look after them.
Mm.
So these people said to me, "Oh, we got these 2 dogs during the COVID, and now we're back in work and we can't look after them, and we're going to have to give them up. Would you like to take one of them or 2 of them?" You know, why did they go out and get the bloody dog when they knew
Oh,
they
no,
couldn't
no,
look
I'm
after
not going to
them?
disagree with you. A lot of people bought dogs during COVID. It was a really bad idea. I'm not going to
And
disagree.
now, and you see the other ones that have the dog out in the back garden howling its bloody head off all day.
Yeah, well, Jimmy said dogs should be out the back garden. They should be in the house. You know, they shouldn't be in the house. Out the back
They won't
garden.
leave them. Yeah, they won't leave them in the house because they know the damn thing will chew out through the door, as we were saying earlier on,
Yeah.
or wreck the place.
Have you got a dog?
So,
Have you got a dog? Have you got a dog, Tommy?
no,
Dog-
I've had
dog needs
lots
a
of
master.
dogs in the past. I've had lots and lots of dogs.
Hang on, Jimmy has something
mostly
very.
bigger
Hang on,
dogs.
hang
I
on.
had German Shepherds. I had.
Okay, hang on, Tommy. Jimmy has something really important to say here. Hang on, before we go to the break. Sorry, Jimmy. What have you got to say?
A dog has an instinct to know that the man is the master in the house. Now, and that is a natural instinct of a dog. He knows for some reason, and anybody who has dogs will know that.
The man is the master.
But where there isn't,
So if the dog knows the man is the master of the house, what does the dog think of the wife and the woman?
and legislation and referendums won't change the dog's instinct.
I'm asking you a question, Jimmy. If the dog thinks the man is the master of the house, what does he think of the woman?
Yeah. Well, if there's a woman or two women or whatever there in the house, the dog is not going to. He's not going to feel happy, so he's going to cause problems at the garden, howling all day because he knows it's not. I don't know how. I have to be careful what I say here, but
You've never been careful before.
No, I don't want to offend anybody by saying
it's never bothered you before, Jimmy. Maria, the dog knows the man is the master of the house. Are you listening to this stuff?
The dog knows, and he knows the children, and he knows what time you're coming home at. He knows what time the man goes out to work and the woman goes do what they're doing, and he might tip down to
do the shopping. Yeah, the women do the shopping and make the dinner. Is that what they do? Yeah.
To a certain extent, Jimmy, you are correct. To a certain extent.
Tommy, would you stop out of that?
No,
the
to
dog,
a certain extent, no,
the dog doesn't know. The dog knows that whoever looks after him the best, be it a man or a woman, whoever feeds him, whoever walks him, as far as the dog is concerned, is the one that gets the loyalty. That's the way it works with dogs. Dogs don't give a shite if you're a man or a woman. Anyway, listen, I have to go. I have to go to break. Jimmy, Maria, Tommy, thanks very much indeed. And thanks, Maria, talking about Tom Tom there as well.
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic